Okay, ready, go. I'll start my little presentation here. Okay, it's about 20 slides, but again, for anyone who's interested, I will be able to share it. Now let me press this beautiful button right here. Yeah, actually, I hope you can see it. Okay, my email is right here. Now, if you want to contact me outside of my, Government of Canada, it's just gmail.com. So again, and I do encourage everyone, just focus on data only. Try not to align yourself with one political party or the other, with Convoy for Freedom versus against extremist groups. Don't give any name tags to anyone. Try to be compassionate, empathetic to people who express their concerns. And you will see the point. I think we, as the Canadians, we have a very good chance of actually resolving this crisis very nicely. So let's do it. Let me just, I'll because I need to look at two screens at the same time. I have to make a disclaimer again. We have official website for all information about coronavirus, and the all opinions here are just those by the author and essentially myself, but I'm talking to many other data scientists across the government. So feedback from many of them has been implemented here as well. Main milestones. Let's just milestones about vaccination. So it's 1 year anniversary of vaccine, right? In fact, these are very important to remember these dates. Like really very important. So the first shot administered, and now we have all data. You can go to I say mine, but actually it's not mine, the entire community. I'm just sort of putting the codes there and moderating it. But you can validate all those numbers right from the app. Oh, by the way, so again, statistics here, if you want to check any of those numbers, go to statistics, check raw data, and you would be able to, let's say, we'll just focus on Canada, and let's say for now, we'll just select COVID. So, and it shows you those one, those two, and you can sort it by date, for example, here, right? And pardon me, I'm jumping back and forth, but I hope it gives you time also to adjust a little bit to the flow of presentation here. So vaccination started December. Okay, all right. So you would see it's information about vaccination and COVID tests. So these are the most important parameters right now. And you can sort it by date. So you see, okay, by date, so the first dose officially based on this information, which is, let me see, that's the one. Yeah, that's one of the websites. It's data extracted from December 14, which is when officially the first ever dose was administered in Canada, right? And with the app, you can really just see, in fact, it runs by, it shows 0 because it runs by integer. As data scientists, again, it's very important for us to keep just enough information, not too much. So dose 1, really 1% is middle of January. Dose 2, and you can go. So dose 2 will be somewhere in April. That's when you have dose 2. So, but again, numbers are here, maybe plus minus a week. It doesn't matter here. Most importantly, you have those pictures for different provinces. Very little delay in Alberta or eastern provinces, but in average, it's pretty much like that. So, first Canadian fully immunized. You remember, you need to make the first dose, and you will be fully immunized, meaning 2 doses. At that time, this is how it was defined. Now, 2 weeks later, so we would have the first fully immunized Canadian, January the 1st. Now, full vaccination rate reached 1 March, 3% May. And you remember how it started. High-risk vaccination, right? Older than 64. So my dad received email, I think, in March. And in April, he went and did it. We received email, I think, the rest of us, in April, and myself and my wife, let's say, we were one of the first, to get it done. Just to help. Just exactly to help to save the country, so to speak. But again, at that time, each of us were doing what we think is right, based on those information we have. Now, then you see the vaccination rate went essentially to 75%, and now we have about 25% or 20% who are not fully vaccinated. Now, these people, 25% right now, as you remember, they do not have access to, they are denied access to sports, figure skating, hockey, dance classes, right? So, and we'll look into really how, and they're denied denied the opportunity to travel. Really, let's see, put in perspective about diversity of Canadians. And what does it mean 25%? People who are essentially right now, they just for whatever reason, maybe they're just affected by mental health. It's like 1 in 5 Canadians have anxiety problems. And they just, let's say, they're so anxious that anxiety goes over the roof, and they just cannot live it. It's really not horrible, but we have to be very cognizant of the fact that mental health is very critical for the health of human being. It's not only your physical body, it's esoteric body or your mental body, which is very important. So what you do with your, injection is just part of the whole picture. Mental picture is very important. So 20 people, essentially, and this is very well known. Now, let's talk about other examples of diversity. And by the way, again, you would see I am very much fond of the Canadian way, the way we handle things here. Open, encourage discussion. So all these kind of hatred messages, I always, when I see them on sites or on either side, let's say I went through downtown a few times, I see these are just people who are using it again always for their own agendas, But I think as Canadians, we are really very compassionate. We're empathetic people. I'm so empathetic with, and you will understand why. Because look at these people, like percentage of, I know some of them. There was just last Saturday, we had Giacomo Panico from CBC Saturday Morning Live visiting us, our neighborhood, and you would see my wife here actually, and that's my daughter, and this is myself doing handstands. There are so many ways to keep your health and your mental health and your esoteric and other psychological health good. So vaccine is just one of many, many facets of our very complex human body of health. And there are many things you can do to manage your health. Mental health, sometimes you can manage it, sometimes it's not as easy to manage. So, smokers, that's their choice, and they now know it's not good. But are we going to deny them access to, to do hockey or figure skating? Really, maybe their second smoke is also bad for population. Maybe not. Vegetarians less than that. Now, then, interesting point, data scientists. These numbers, I get them from estimate. I took the entire CBSA employee from public survey employee, result, PSS, and then just divided by our team of data scientists. And it's about, something like that. So, now, ice water deeper is probably less than that, because how I computed it, I took the population of Ottawa, and then I just took all those people whom I know personally, because many of them I got to know personally, and I think this is becoming very, very popular. The numbers are getting high. Actually, data scientists as well are, getting high. Many people now, but through the training, through this open source training, actually can become self-trained data scientists to understand data directly by looking at the data instead of seen some kind of snippets from some journalists or politicians. You can really understand data much better. So this is the picture. So are we going to really respect this diversity? I think, of course, as Canadians, we should respect and we should empathy for this. If these great people who are shown on CBC are denied access to travel to do figure skating because they refuse to do the second vaccine, let's say they even done first vaccine, because at that time there was no data. Now we'll go into the data, and you see there is enough data to make clear-cut decision. So, in fact, we should show empathy to all these individuals. Right? Now, another point, because another perspective, and this is why actually I wanted to include it. My children go to l'école Trill de Roy, c'est la même école où les enfants de Justin Trudeau fréquentaient au passé à moi. Et alors, c'est notre festivité de mois de mai. Et ici, c'est moi qui jouais de guitare. Et c'est une festivité vraiment, vraiment incroyable. C'est plaisir de regarder nos enfants chanter en humeur très, très heureuse. C'est vraiment quelque chose. Et on l'a pris par cette pédagogie Waldorf, qui s'appelle pédagogie Waldorf, une autre chose qui n'est pas vraiment connue partout au Canada, au monde. Mais aussi au Canada, c'est notre trésor, vraiment, pour donner les enfants les meilleurs childhood, les meilleures expériences dans l'école, pour développer la créativité, les musiques, les danses, les spectacles. Vraiment, comme Canada, Upper Canada Village, in Ottawa, we know, people know this place, like where you can go there and you can immerse yourself in the 19th century. This is some pictures from there. So actually I got to know Trudeau family from there, because our children actually went to the same class, so with Xavier Trudeau. So my daughter was sitting actually side by side with Xavier, and I had a very good interaction with actually with them, with both of them, and my wife as well. They spent many hours tricot de doigts, and other things. These are normal, good people. They don't want any bad to Canadians. But back to this picture, it's only data scientists, and how many of them will be able to understand the data? The rest, 99.9, will not understand the data and will listen to data scientists or other, maybe not data scientists, and that's the problem, who will try to manipulate data or really for their own agendas. And so this is so I have an even personal relationship to Justin Trudeau. Again, I wouldn't say that I fully support everything there. And it's hard job. Even myself, right now, I don't know how he can sleep through the night. It has become much harder for me to sleep through the night with all these things happening here. So it's very tough job. Again, let's just go. If you please let me know if you still can hear me. Please put thumbs up if you can hear me, please. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. It's important to me. So, and now I'll give you the perspective which I elucidated earlier. All claims made by vendors need to be validated by third parties. And we in the Government of Canada, in CBSA, that's exactly what we do. It's our job. And this example, now I mentioned to you, you can search for that CBC report about ice water dipping by just CBC last name. You can search for this one, do DRDC Городничий traveler screening, and you will get a report, comprehensive report, which evaluates automated lie detection systems. And you know, there is another CBC report, CBC Avatar CBSA. People, again, many of them will try to use technology for me. They may not understand the technology, and they will make some conclusions maybe not really justified and used for their own maybe benefit. So if you are interested, you can have a look how we handled this case, because a vendor would come, and it's any vendor. Again, I had excellent partnership with this team. This technology is amazing. Is it working? No, I will not say that. I will say go to the report and find the answer. And this is why we say here, clear safeguards need around technology. This is very important, clear safeguards. So we do this for lie detection, we do it for a biometric system, we do it for everything, actually, in the government of Canada. Do we do it for vaccine? Now, let's have a look close into that. Do we have this clear safeguards needed around vaccination, which is called third-party unbiased evaluation? Right now, we are third-party because we have data, and we just as their avatar, we now can look into the data, and we can really now provide unbiased opinion, not what the vendors told us a year ago, but what we know now based on the data. So, again, I have really to give credit to our government. I know there is a polarization of opinions here, and I do encourage every Canadian here, do not use offensive language in the direction of anyone, either those who ask kindly in the beginning, but now they cannot do kindly. They have to be loud to ask, allow them to live normal life, to allow them to essentially do sports, to travel and everything. Don't call them any bad words. Don't call Prime Minister bad words. He has done significant milestone for Canadian history. He has created Chief Science Advisor position. And Mona Nemer is from Ottawa U, and I mentioned that I have a joint affiliation with Ottawa U. And they've done an excellent job bringing science back, to the front. You remember with the previous government, they were really what is called muzzling. Again, I don't like the word, but muzzling scientists. So this government changed it entirely, like ups and downs. They created what is called scientific integrity policy, which actually encourages you to talk about science as soon as possible, make it public, and essentially report any breaches which you suspect or which you see actually. So there are mechanisms, right? So government has become more, I would say even much more open, much more pro-science. And again, forgive me, my good friends from, let's say, from other parties, again, it's not about politics at this point. It's just about pro-science, and it has become much easier to do open science since 2017 and 18 for that particular reason. So let's give credit, right? Now, many open Canada databases have become available and promoted, and many of them are related to vaccines, and I have already provided you a link to that. So these are the pages which we will just go one by one, and you remember I showed you they are in the same pages which are there. Now I'm looking at the time here. I'm okay to stay here longer for anyone who needs them, but I really would like to get the key message here by 1 o'clock, and also how you can report your vaccine side effect. So, big questions here. Should they be mandatory, even now, knowing all the data, for everyone? What do we know now compared to the year ago? How really efficient and safe are they based on the data after mass vaccination, not before, which is after May essentially? And how do they compare to natural immunity, for example, right? And what is of course the cost? And the most important, can Canadians have unbiased, friendly, respectful, safe discussion about all those questions? And I think what we're having right now is a proof that we can. And please use Slido, send me emails to my Gmail or CBSA, any way you wish. And please share this information, or the deck could be also shared. We'll put it maybe there on a portal. So now, what did actually Chief Science Advisor Mona Nemer mention actually specifically about these whole vaccination thing? Scientific consideration. Very importantly, look at it. It should not be coerced. It could, vaccine acceptance could decrease in the others if there was a sense of coercion. Now, this was March 31st. before we started having all this data coming. It has been mentioned already there. Now, another thing, scientific uncertainties. She actually says, given the short time since, and we know it has been released under extreme short time as emergency measure. And there is a lot of talk about that. Now, another one, legal consideration, control need to be fraud proof. And there are many reports, essentially, whistleblowers, that there were many things which were not done properly by manufacturers. And conclusion, essentially, maximizes consistent post-vaccine monitoring. So this actually, credits against the government of Canada, maybe with delay, 3 months, which unfortunately still results in unneeded, possibly deaths and casualties of Canadians. But this is there. Now, another report, which was released, a big one, because they found that actually it does cause severe health damages, myocarditis and pericarditis. And they priority actions moving forward from MONAM essentially requires attention, addressing data and knowledge gaps. So there was a gap before that we didn't know about. Gap means we didn't know before vaccination has started what is going on. Now, here we go. Now, unfortunately, and I was kind of surprised, I was looking for it last night, no reports since then. Now, but there are some reports from other governments of Canada. Well, not the government, but other governments. This is the most interesting from the US government. It compares vaccines versus natural immunity. This is from CDC, government of United States. And the graphs here essentially show in California and in New York. And the links are all provided here. It compares natural immunity, it's for the entire year last year. It's Delta variant. Essentially what it's, the big line here, it shows the risk, or they call it some kind of risk, let's call it. And another graph here is a hazard rate, okay. So it's some metrics, but essentially if you are not exposed to COVID and if you do not have vaccine, you have such and such big number or risk of getting hospitalized. Yeah, it's hospitalization. Now, if you got vaccine, look, that big dash line, it's about 10 times or maybe even 20, about 10, maybe 15, 20 times less the risk of hospitalization. So it's good news for vaccine, right? So it does reduce it by 20. It's a big number, statistically it's a big number. By 20 you reduce it. But the one which is below, it's the people who were not vaccinated and who just got sick by COVID naturally. So they have even 10 less risk of getting hospitalized compared to those who are vaccinated. So conclusion is that natural immunity is, so vaccination does help, by a factor of 20, but natural immunity is even 10 times better than vaccination, right? So this is very important. Another line is here actually is very interesting, that people who had natural immunity and who got vaccinated after that, their immunity actually slightly is maybe the same, it's not improving, it may be even slightly less. So vaccination potentially make your natural immunity slightly worse, because this is the number here if you zoom there. This data, by the way, it's November. So it's after the policy for mandatory vaccination was, you remember, October the 6th. Now, by the way, unfortunately, I'm not recording it. And I think this could be a very important, possibly historical and mild change in presentation, which if you could share, please share it. It's all open, all government only. So please share it with anyone. Again, I just didn't have time to record it. But please just share it. The data is there. Now, okay, that's a good one. That's a very good point. You need to go through the hospitalization. Now, not every case is hospitalized. And this is another statistics which you could go and look into what is the percentage of cases which are hospitalized, right? And then you go here. Essentially, just Google Canada COVID. Population like that, over entire period, we have 3 million of cases. And we have COVID deaths, which is about 1% of all cases. It's just, right now, I looked this morning. Now, maybe percentage of hospitalized will be 10 times more than that. Now, there are different ways. Again, I'm not a medical doctor. I cannot advise you on that. But if you can go through even hospitalization and get back to normal, or even ideally, you just get COVID and you just, essentially do what other metric ideas are possible for you just to survive COVID, maybe essentially based on this data, because remember, from vaccine, you also have side effects, right? And many of them, again, we can compare side effects from COVID or from COVID vaccines. There's data on that as well. But this picture is really coming in November, and it answers the question. So all these people, so 1%, and again, very sorry for all of this. And we'll talk about these deaths. Actually, what do they mean? So every death is precious, but every damage, or like of my dad-in-law, who can no longer bike because he had shingles, is equally precious, and we don't know how many of these. So now put it in perspective. Let's find number of deaths in the same period, and again, we're looking now from mass vaccination from May to October, because we need to keep the same kind of really just the same period so we can compare. Look how many of them were from cancer, from heart, from homicides, from suicide, and then from COVID versus from COVID alone, meaning without comorbidities. There is a study in UK. There was, which again, if anyone is interested, there will be a link somewhere. But again, we are not talking about this. What I'm talking here is about bias, which is embedded into stats. Now, there are different ways of reporting statistics. And as a statistician or a data scientist, and actually with many experience in artificial intelligence, developing expert systems, I know exactly what it is. One of the largest groups within Government of Canada is actually AI policy, ethics, and bias in AI. It's one of the biggest and most important, because it's very easy to embed bias in AI system. It's just a little rule here which will make essentially, let's say, all black people or all autochthone be less, essentially experience more inconvenience, let's say, by biometric systems. Just as example. Now, okay, I'll read questions later. So it's very easy to embed algorithmic bias into the program. Now there are other types of biases, very important. Embedded biases in just reporting data. You can take any data, remember, and you can put it in such a way that boosts your own agenda. And as a scientist, this is what we need to watch for. And I use this example of Avatar, remember. Of course, and again, good job for Avatar, good job for vaccine manufacturers. Lots of effort. It does help, or it does work. But how much, or at the cost of what? These also are very important factors to consider. So, and this relates to political bias, vendor bias, confirmation bias, group bias, and actually propaganda. It's extreme case of using numbers, really just looking at one numbers, but not showing the entire picture. We have to be cognizant of these facts. Now, we can reverse engineer bias, which is built into reporting of COVID data, and I will show you how. So, again, I see we reach the time, but again, we can go. This topic is very important. Yes, please.
Road closures because the truckers have come downtown Toronto.
Okay, yeah. So, and again, at this point, I think the best. Again, I'm not here to commend the way to resolve the crisis in downtown. I am very compassionate for all Canadians. Minority, majority. And I think there is a way to fix the problem if we really essentially are aware of bias which has been introduced and which we can explain here. And I will go back to this image, to this slide later. A case study, vaccine efficacy reporting. This is from a table which is used by Health Canada and actually by our chief scientific officer. Report, that first report which was built, remember, in March last year, which talks about the gap of knowledge, right? and it refers number efficacy 95%. I just looked there myself. This is the report. You can go there, and this is how. Oops, I need to be careful here how I show it. It's number of cases with placebo and with vaccine. 8 cases of COVID infected, 162 cases infected here. By the way, infected, and then we know that infected doesn't result in death. We know just 1% of cases results in death. That's already actually, that's a separate topic. But let's just put even here. So, guys, being sick of COVID is not, from that statistic, if you survive, it gives you immunity better than from vaccine. But let's go back to this claim of efficacy. Just do the simple mathematical thing, and you would see that the efficacy compared to the entire is less than 1%. And statistically, it's not statistically significant, what is called. And the vendor reports it as 95%. Because they can manipulate the data, or not manipulate, but present it. It's called vendor bias. So here you go, like you, because vendor presents their own data. So number one, bias embedded right here, and this number is then cut and paste in all policymakers. Here, you can, let's look at the next one. This is actually happening live right now. I invite everyone, okay, and we'll keep like the efficacy again. Please submit all your I'll go through all the comments into the slider. Please submit there. We could have another follow-up discussion maybe next week, maybe not on Friday, but maybe on Thursday, and I'll show you where you will be able to get the updates. So by the way, let me get back to these to those websites here, because these are now live data. So I just looked at the data today. Look at the data today. So this is the table. Everyone has seen the data. It's the table that shows you that, as they say, vaccines are efficient. It says somewhere here. While COVID vaccines are highly effective based on that, by the way, information which we just showed. Percentage of population who are vaccinated may become infected. A riddle flag here. In November, it was a small percentage of population. Now there is no word small, and I will tell you why. They removed it. Because this number, which is today, as of today, 16%. It was not, it was 8% in November. And I suggest everyone who is watching with me, take a sticky note and write down the number. So thank you everyone, by the way, for providing feedback. Again, I will embed it there. We'll make sure we address all your questions and all your corrections, and I'm very grateful for you to raise those. Now, please write down those numbers: 70% and 16%. This is of January 14th. Write these down numbers now. This page was updated. This was updated today. Now, I will show you. I started taking these numbers. Actually, you can take a PDF file. And just make a copy of it. Look, at December, it was 10. Now, December 4, it was 9. In November, it was even less. So, yesterday, what was interesting? When I wanted to take this picture, yesterday this number was 13%. So this number was not 16.8. It was 13.8 number. So this is actually very interesting. And now you will understand why. Because the bias was embedded right into the reporting. Look right here. Detailed case information since December 14. Do you remember my second or third slide? We didn't have full vaccination. The first full vaccination person, Canadian, was January the 1st. Now, how many deaths have happened before December 14 and this very first Canadian who has become fully vaccinated? Okay, now take actually until how many deaths have happened till March or or till May. So majority of deaths, you remember, which happened last year after Christmas, majority of them, actually 75%, and you can compute all of this, and I will show you how. Using this statistics calculator, which is right here, you can compute all those numbers, just summary, like summary, select here and select date, and you can compute number of cases for COVID deaths in each period. And you would see that 3/4 of all deaths happen before vaccination, mass vaccination of people younger than 65 has happened. So this is really, it's very important to understand. This is a major, scientifically speaking, it's called bias introduced. It's like you're playing a hockey, two teams, and you give already 10 points, like 10-0 before the game has started, for the team to equalize in 3 periods, right? So this is called bias or advantage. Like in hockey, I'm telling you, I'm giving you advantage, essentially. Okay, so again, please continue sending the comments, and we'll go through all of this. So I'm just showing you example of a bias which was embedded into. Now, if you take this experiment, you can understand why the numbers are increasing here, because the more you go into the history, essentially, the less this advantage which you introduced embedded in the beginning from December. To me, it was really, that they're not fully vaccinated before January 1st. Like even one person, you cannot consider one person. You cannot consider even 1% compared to other things, statistically speaking. So, but anyway, all of you write those numbers down. I told it to my colleagues, to my director. I write it down. When I talked to him, it was 13.8. But what I find that people here, they do believe experts. Like we're in a plane and we're not asking a pilot how to drive the plane. And I'm saying we data scientists are the pilots here, because we can understand the data like no one else in the country can do it as data scientists. So I encourage this discussion. Now, these I would like to, just while I'm here, I would like to tell you that we will probably have, because I see there is lots of interest, we will have a follow-up discussion. There is, on Open Canada, we could have a separate discussion here, and I will post it in here. Maybe not Friday, because Friday will be kept for, really for data science skills, and everyone is welcome to join us, so you'll learn how to build those tools. Maybe on Thursday, lunchtime, I suggested, we could have just a continuation of the statistics of these data, because I just showed you the essential bias, which was introduced by the reporting of the numbers. So you should not be. This is essentially a breach of scientific integrity, what is called. It's could be called political bias, vendor bias, or confirmation bias if you want to believe only those things which you want to believe, or which you use those data. But you can write those numbers, and again, it's every site. We go to every site, and it will just essentially confirm you the numbers. Now, I think I will stop probably right here. But you probably know the latest news here is that 2 days ago, essentially Denmark canceled pandemic. There is no pandemic anymore in Denmark. But again, I have to be careful how I say it. This is from Telegram. I don't know what they're doing. Maybe this is just another way of doing it. But it means there are different techniques of managing, and there is a literature review of different effects of lockdowns on COVID mortality. Links could be provided here. And the last thing which I would like to do here, and I'm sorry I ran over time, is just to provide you information how you can learn more about this